Miss Jen, you're muted. Welcome into Minute to Skim It to everybody. Well, Miss Jen figures out why her microphone was muted.
Oh, no. I'm not muted.
There she goes.
Yeah, you were.
I didn't do anything different.
I understand. Something happened. Welcome into Minute to Skim It, everybody. I'm producer Kyle. That's the J. And that's Miss Jen. It's her show. But, you know, I'm taking over.
It's our show now, bro. Okay. So this is Minute to Skim It, which has been for the last 7 or 8 years an awesome show to follow if you want to know what's coming out this week that, you know, might tickle your interests, might have some key stuff happening, might have some amazing things you want to collect, great art, and all of those kinds of cool things. So we've got a bunch of really awesome stuff that was released this week. And we tend to, just so you know, we love indies also. So you're not going to get the traditional just Marvel DC stuff. You're going to get all the extra stuff too. So you're going to have a really good wide swath of goodness. This is a reminder that at the end of the show, we are going to be giving away a Slabbed comic. Just put in exactly the way you see it there, caps and all. You only have to do it once. And a reminder for anybody that's already won on one of the other giveaway shows, you can only win one time. So there's no need to enter again. And I just wanted to say hi to everybody that is actual supporter of the channel by subscribing and being part of our subscriber members. So I see that Spilios is on and Triple B, and I saw someone earlier that I didn't recognize their name. So to me, they're new. So hello, everybody. And I see Preston's on. All these people have got really cool green badges. You can see them in the comments. And looks like most everyone's watching us from the tubes today. Hi, YouTubes.
Yeah. So I was goofing around in GarageBand and I wrote the new.
You're goofing off in GarageBand?
Yes, GarageBand, the app.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, and I was just playing with it, and I'm like, ooh, I like the way this sounds, and we need a song for this thing, so I wrote it. Anyway, let's get into it.
Yoo-hoo! You just tell us what's up first. Oh, that's me. Woohoo! Okay, so there are a couple of really good Spider-Man titles this week. This one is just a regular Spider-Man annual, but you see at the very top there, it says Contest to Chaos. There's some crazy stuff going on. So what happens when you get together the Wolverine and Peter Parker and a little bit of Agatha Harkness goodness and have them all be competing over some kind of special orb that they will want? That's what happens. So if you love those characters and you want to get back into some Harkness goodness and a little bit of magic, along with your superhero fighting, this is a great place to jump in. I think this is the first part of, I'm assuming, something that touches a bunch of other things. I think the very last page actually says it continues on in a very specific book, which I'm happy to show you guys if you guys want to know. But just know there's a bunch of books coming out from Marvel this week that specifically look like they're just standalone books, but they actually say continued in, and they'll tell you which book to go to next, which is awesome.
All right. So if you were just on the last show, you heard us talk about You've Been Canceled number 3. But You've Been Canceled number 3 is a continuation of Kurt Pyre's You've Been Canceled from Mad Cave. The premise of the book, if you haven't read the first couple of issues, is that when someone gets canceled, people vote on who is the most canceled. And these hunters, essentially, and our main character, Roland, is one of them, go out, hunt, and kill them live on television. Think The Running Man, except in a comic book. You find out in issue 2 that, well, at the end of issue 1, Roland gets canceled. You find out in issue 2 that maybe it was a little less on the up and up as to why he was canceled. He wasn't maybe canceled correctly. And then in this book, you find out more about what is happening. The person who hacked the system kind of explains their reasoning, and you see them start to devise a plan to rectify this broken cultural norm that is the cancellation and the hunting of people. So that's kind of where this book is, and kind of what kind of how this book progresses the story. it does leave you on kind of a cliffhanger. There's a line in here I want to actually just quote a line from this book that says, "We're going to crowdsource security." And if you know anything about history, crowdsourcing security works super well. Just ask, I don't know, anyone who was at that show where the Hells Angels stabbed all those people protecting the Who.
Oh my word, that's not good. Hey,
Doesn't
Daniel.
really work.
Daniel Aslan's been reading this book. Tell us what you think, Daniel. You guys, this is a totally interactive show. So although we were doing the reviews, you guys can also review over on the side. Tell people what you like. And John Spilios is right. We like the likes. It lets the production team know they're doing a good job. So give us that. And remember to subscribe. If you're just visiting just to get the slabs, we love you. Subscribe.
Yes.
Come join our family.
Yes. So we're gonna move quick because we got a lot. We got 20 books to get through.
We're fine.
We got 20 books to get through and a slab to give away. So I'm not going to dwell too long, and I'm going to move on to Miss Jen telling me about one of the books I'm most excited for this week.
Oh, man. Okay, so if you guys have not been reading That Texas Blood from Image, you should maybe go back and think about it. Oh, we love you, John. Remember that this whole series has been going on for a while, and it is one of those books that at our store specifically, people have not wandered away from. You know how people start strong with issue 1 and 2, and then they're like, some other pretty thing, I'm going to subscribe to that. That does not happen with this series. We actually have been adding people to this. This is a great place to jump on because it is a sub-story of that universe. It is a pure Western, so it even comes on really cool, old-fashioned feeling paper. So it gets you in the mood, and it has old-fashioned ads in it. In this one specifically, it's about the Enfield gang. They seem like they're kind of like the cowboys from Tombstone and are kind of tolerated in town, but also everybody knows they're up to shenanigans and doing crazy stuff. And specifically, they've been robbing one bank every single month for 3 months straight. And the banker is so frustrated with this that he actually offers the bank robber a job, because who would rob the bank after the bank robber works for him? So it's really interesting interplay for these, like the criminals, for what they're deciding about how they're going to behave going forward. The townspeople for how they're not happy with how the law is handling such things, since obviously it keeps on going on. And surprise, surprise, spoiler alert, there's a murder that happens that may probably be pinned on these ruffian cowboys, the Enfield gang. I don't think that they did it, so it's gonna get fun.
All right.
Roar. A roar. I. Arr.
Gar, Steve.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jay.
Okay.
I will be right back.
So this story takes place in the age of pirates, and we kind of start out with some panels of old sea monsters, you know, that you would see on a map of those times, like sirens and things of that, krakens, things like that. Then we cut to a pirate saying this monster is different, and obviously talking about Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
He goes on to tell about how Godzilla basically takes out this whole armada in one of the most beautifully colored page spreads I've ever seen. Like it's gorgeous. Now, the pirate that's telling the story, he's in a cell, and the people he's telling it to, they don't necessarily believe him, but he continues the story anyway, and he tells them that one of the ships actually made it out, and they stop at this island because they need to rest and try to regather supplies from this island, is what it feels like. Maybe scavenge some things. But on this island, there are giant inhabitants, sea creatures, things of that nature. I mean,
So like Skull Island,
maybe, but that's all I'm gonna say. If you're a Godzilla fan, You should definitely check this one out. The Age of Pirates part of it is kind of one of the most interesting aspects to me.
Love it. Okay, this one, y'all, if there was ever going to be a book that was worth its weight in gold, it's probably this one. This one is the thickest comic book I've had to read in a long time for review. So just know this one's got, I don't think they did a page count on it. Usually they'll say it on the outside, but I bet you it's 100 pages. If it's anywhere close, I'd be surprised that it was any less. So this is the wedding issue as promised. It is the upcoming wedding between Robbie Robertson and Tombstone's daughter, who goes by Beetle. Tombstone, of course, has been kind of like ruling the underworld kind of groups that were where there was a big like hollow place left when Kingpin skedaddled. He's still around, clearly. It's kind of like the preparation. It's a fun excursus into the bachelorette party and the people that are invited. It's very awkward because, of course, Pete is like the best man or something. So you've got a bunch of goodies hanging out with a bunch of real baddies. And the bad guys have got this kind of undercurrent of uncomfortableness because they don't want to all be gathered in one place. Because if the Kingpin was ever going to come after them for their betrayal, when they all, turn to the Tombstone, that would be a good place to hit them. But Tombstone insists that they show up. So you've got that kind of like worry that something crazy might happen on top of just pre-wedding jitters and other stuff. But hey, surprise, none of the things that you think are going to happen, but something that you didn't expect does. So I think there's a brand new character. I don't recognize the character at all, so I'm assuming it's real, a new one. And then also there are in the back half of the book are a ton of individual stories. Miss Marvel and some other ones, a really cute one that's a little chibi tale with, I think, Spidey and a goose. No lie, it's a goose. So pick it up. I know it's a $10 price point, but it's like worth like 4 books worth of information. So grab it up.
Awesome. Just a reminder, hit hashtag EXP2K to enter for our slab giveaway. All right, Gargoyles Dark Ages number 2. Jay, was this one of yours or one of mine?
I think this was one of yours.
All right, cool. So in the first issue of the Gargoyles Dark Ages, you meet the gargoyles you know and love as small children. In this book, they seem to be more teenagers, or they may be the same age. It's kind of hard to tell sort of where they're at. But this book works you towards sort of understanding how the gargoyles come to be in the situation that we know them to be in. As statues that live on top of a building that come to life. In this time, in this era, they're just around. They're part of everything, and we're starting to kind of figure out what that protecting Manhattan sort of life that they've lived, where it came from.
Do you guys watch Gargoyles when you were growing up?
Did I freeze?
No, you're good.
Just for a second.
All right, tell me. I want to know who's everyone's favorite gargoyle. I just always want to know. I like Brooklyn.
Goliath.
For 30 seconds. Anyway, you find out where the gargoyles came from, and that's kind of where this book is. It's a fun book. I didn't like number 1. Number 2 saved number 1 for me. So this is a book that I'm definitely super into. So
Emporium likes Goliath. Yeah. This is a very, very interesting book. It deals with what looks like it's trying to fit itself in the era of maybe when like Stan Lee and Kirby and those guys were still kind of like young in the game, because the main character is a guy who has created his own comic book character and has an entire issue finished and has an appointment with a maybe real comic book company. It's not Marvel or DC or any of those. It's an old-fashioned one. And shows up, sits down for his appointment, and then gets frustrated because he feels like he might not actually get to go in because no one ever comes to get him. So he does something stupid, goes out on the ledge and climbs into the window. I don't know. You just have to kind of like wrap your mind around whether someone like Stan Lee would put up with such stuff, or he would be open to such things. So it's very of the era right now, where people are talking about creators not really getting their due, or not getting what they should be getting on the back end, or never were acknowledged as being creators, those kinds of things. But it also is a love story, because he, in his frustration, goes to a bar, as you do, to drink it off. And there is a lovely lady who is the leading singer that you actually see right there that enters his life. So this is a non-stop book, which means this is kind of a teaser issue, and then you got to be patient for a few months, and then you'll get the graphic novel for it, which will have the whole story. So I like reading nonstop, because then I know whether I want to buy the graphic novel, it's my jam or not, and also has another thing I can collect. So that's what I like. I hear you, John.
Jay?
That one is mine. Let me find my notes. Here we go.
Jay's got like 9 pages of notes, guys, and I've got like 6 bullet points for 10 books.
And I have nothing written down.
No, trust me. I could read a line in a comic, and when I get to the next line, I already forgot what I read. So I got to write everything down. So this one starts out with a general talking to an academy that is being rebuilt after aliens destroyed it. As Kyle told us in stores this week, this is actually the second part. The first is called MECH U.
MECH Cadet U.
MECH Cadet U.
YU, by the way, not YOU.
Oh, okay. So that was interesting to know, because it kind of led to me being like, oh, okay, that's why this kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But so this academy is to learn how to pilot what they call REBOs, which, excuse me, which are mech suits. And from what I saw, there's like one big one and 3 smaller ones. And the big one is piloted by the team leader. And from what I gathered, these suits are also sentient. They kind of bond with the person riding in them. They show 2 missions. The first one is they have to fix a broken dam and protect a grocery store from being looted. Something goes wrong with that mission, and Olivia is relieved of command. They put somebody else in command. The second mission is a recon mission. That ends up not going as planned as well. But we do get a look at the alien forces in that last panel, and I think they look really cool. And I thought this was a cool story, and it's actually supposed to be a Netflix series coming up in August. So I'm excited to watch that too. So
Yeah, I can remember when they announced that it was going to be coming to TV, and you already couldn't find any of the books anyway because it was small print run. Tough.
Just as a reminder, hit hashtag EXP2K to enter the slab giveaway. And then the only other things you have to do in order to win are be here at the end of the show to get the information for the form you need to fill out to claim your book, and then fill out the form in 24 hours, or I will be giving your book to someone else.
Thanks, Dad.
I don't want to be that guy. But there's a lot of you here, so there's somebody who wants it. Do your paperwork.
And now I want ice cream because everyone's talking about ice cream. Cookies and cream. Oh, this is me. All right. Dawn of DC Night Terrors. So this awesome series is this main book, and then it has individual books running through every single title. Like, if you've noticed, there hasn't been anything DC other than this Night Terror storyline. That's why. They took
Other
a
than
break.
that super terrifying Catwoman book?
Yeah.
With a super terrifying cover?
Yeah.
That made everybody all itchy and uncomfortable?
Exactly. It'll continue. This one focuses on Deadman, not Batman. I will let you figure that out because otherwise it spoils a lot of stuff. And Robin, son of Batman, actual Batman. And they're trying to not fall asleep and try to figure out how to find, there's a specific object they're trying to get before insomnia does. And meanwhile, everyone that does fall asleep gets kind of like enslaved in this weird nightmare kind of realm. And it's all of that stuff is terrifying. This is kind of cool because it jumps back and forth between that main story action and like a backstory being told about Deadman, I believe. It's kind of eye-openingly cool because I didn't know anything about that character. This one, I don't know how hard it would be to go back and get the other books that are tied to it, but honestly, I think you could jump in here. It gives you enough information about what's happened before that it wouldn't be that big of a deal to jump in here. And it really does do a deep dive on Robin. So if you ever like to love to hate that character, there's a good line in there where he's like, I recognize demons when I see them. So when you see that line, you'll be like, oh, aha. It's great.
Clayton, I'm in the same boat. I kind of passed on it because I wasn't reading much DC. And I didn't really want to jump into an event, but I'm kind of upset that I decided to make that choice now after having heard about everything. I will say, though, the one cover I will never own, and if I get it in a trade, I will tear the page out. All right. This is not a book with a plot.
Mm-mm.
It's important to know. This is Michael Golden's Marvel Stories. We talked about this on the last show, but if you're seeing it for the first time, this book is scans of the original art that Michael Golden did for some of his most popular and famous issues, including several issues of the Nom, some Avengers books, some X-Men stuff, other things like that. And the whole review on this one is simple. If you like original art but don't have
Cheddar?
go to Heritage Auctions and spend $1 million budget, this is a great way to get to look at the original art in the original pen and ink form, right? It's not colored. It's not final product. It's not like you're buying or reading the comic. You're looking at the art the same way you would if you were holding a piece of art. So it really is kind of a cool thing. And it's not a cheap book. They're $100 plus, but it's really worth it if you have a coffee table where you like to have comic and comic art. I have several of these in my home that I put out, and people love to flip through them. They're really great little collectible things that are also decorative. So,
And am I understanding you correctly that these are the full art size?
oh yeah. Oh, the book is actually, I think the book is 18 by 20
Okay, so
in terms of size. So it's huge.
Excellent. All right. This was a lot of fun, honestly. This is Ghost Rider Wolverine. Oh my goodness gracious. This is when my brain ends. I'm actually going to check and make sure which ending this is, because this actually is an alpha. Super important to know, because it is the beginning of a storyline that is going to rock and roll through. I just wanted to see where it ended up. Sorry. Since there were 2 Wolverine books this week, my old brain didn't know. Oh, so it's going to head off into Ghost Rider 17 after this. So if you're a Ghost Rider fan, that is where you want to go. So this is really about a very creepy boy who obviously has been kind of passed around to orphanages and to foster homes. And somewhere in this passing around, one of the orphanage leaders has heard about Prof X and his school for gifted children. Even though gifted might be an interesting way to discuss this kiddo, when she shows up with this little boy in tow, Prof X says, "I'm sorry, but I can't take him in." And on his end, he's largely doing that because he already has a lot on his plate. He's got other major characters he's dealing with their drama. And it has not a whole bunch to do with the rejecting the boy. He says the boy has some kind of really giant power that needs to be addressed, but he's not willing to do it then, which I think is going to be a huge mistake, obviously, because this kid is, once he goes back to his orphanage, it goes down a really dark path. So, I say you should probably get that Ghost Rider to find out what happens with that kid, because I have a feeling that kid's going to become something.
Okay, so Scarlet Couture. So this one starts off with bad guys doing bad guy things, like building a bank in international waters that's exempt from all tax, banking, and weapons regulations. Spend a little time with these folks talking about their devious plans, and then we cut to an operative, and I'm not exactly sure what branch she works for. I don't think it's CIA, but I can't remember exactly. But she is part of this team of operatives, and she just procured something, and she's being chased by more baddies, and her team is on the way to try to save her. Even though when she kind of gets caught, you can tell she really didn't need too much help. She could kind of handle her own. But the team arrives just in time to help her out, and they make their way to their extraction point. Then, like they do, the mission gets taken over by the CIA, saying we'll have our people look into this. Soon after that, the operatives are, I guess, in an apartment or something, and they're attacked along with a person from their headquarters. So now the question becomes, is there a mole, and who could it be? And that's kind of how that one ends. And super interesting story. If you're a spy person at all, espionage, things of that nature, I would definitely go to your LCS and try to pick this one up.
I like spy stuff. Spy stuff's awesome. I never get tired of it. Oh man, just so you guys are aware, there's been a lot of early buzz about this series book. AWA has been around for quite a long time. They've got a tried and true book release schedule. They're really careful about how they put books out. They're not putting too much out at a time, and they're very careful about having things that don't overlap. They do have their shared superhero universe that I love, the Resistance. And J. Michael Straczynski has been writing his butt off, because this is one of those rare books that I read and think to myself, I'm not going to like this book because it's put into it is a superhero book. It's not part of the superhero universe. It's part of AWA. This is something else. But this one is going to rip your heart out, I'm pretty sure. So this one features this main character there who is a super that you find out her ability is that she can really have any ability she wants, but only one at a time. So if she is flying, for example, she doesn't have invulnerability, so she can be shot, and she can't do it for a whole long time. So it's like one of those things that you just kind of like, you've got the Swiss Army knife of abilities. You just got to choose what's important to the mission at that time. The bad news is that she also isn't a good guy. she's been stealing stuff to make ends meet. And that is where the difficulty starts here. She steals from the wrong person. That person uses their political connections to force our government to make a decision about how they're going to handle it. It's a very awkward decision that they have to make, because it's literally they're put in a position where either you take out this person or we're going to basically, put all of your people that are in our country in danger. So hundreds. So that age-old question, it's a trolley question. One person versus, 3 people on the track. But it's accentuated here. And the way this rolls out is just devastational for, if you have any, if you have a soft heart like I do, you're definitely going to feel it. And out of it comes something amazing and very, very dangerous. So if you are very resistant to books that aren't Marvel and DC, that are superhero leaning, think to yourself, this is more like The Boys or The Invincibles than anything else that's out there that would be superhero based. So if you like those dark tone books, this is for you.
Okay.
Yes!
I'm sure Miss Jen is angry that I read it and she didn't get to.
I was only a little salty.
Okay. If you liked Volume 1 in the big gay space romp featuring henchotters and all sorts of other talking animalry, be prepared, there's more. This continues kind of there's a gap at the end of between the end of the last book and the start of this book. You're not 100% sure how long it is, but there's definitely a little gap there. And this book kind of picks up same team, same people, same humor, same style. You add this guy who's like legally not Archangel from X-Men, but basically he's Archangel from X-Men, who is a king on a planet.
And wearing excellent heels.
We were going to get to that.
Okay.
He is fabulous. It reminds me of if you were in an episode of RuPaul's Drag Race, but the models all had wings that they couldn't remove, and they had to like still be stylistic. So everything he wears is like super aerodynamic and super, but still super stylish and fashionable. And one of our main characters is obsessed. Like, you maybe need to see a therapist level obsessed. Stalkery. It's great. I will say this. There's a panel in this book that made me laugh so hard, I screenshotted it and made it the background on my phone.
There is a real reason why Killer Queens, the first volume, was nominated under Best Humor Publication for the Eisners. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no. Best Humor Publication by a mile. I don't know that that's true. There's a lot of stuff I haven't read, but this is so funny and so interesting. And David Boer crushes it. It's nothing like David Boer when he
makes us sad with Kanto.
It's nothing like Kanto. It's nothing like his Firefly. It's nothing like his Buffy. It's nothing like anything else David Boer. It's definitely nothing like Rain. This is just a hilarious space romp. Oh, and it has bear bounty hunters.
No.
And they show up to a pride festival. So bears at a pride festival. It's great.
What you don't see is my coworker behind the camera losing their mind.
Right? Oh, I'm so happy I got to read this week. Like, putting the sass in assassination is an understatement. Just real quick though, before we move on to answer Sheldon's question, no, it's spelled correctly. It's just the font is a little tough. There are some R's that look like A's and some K's that look like H's.
By the way, I give this title 2 wagging fingers. 2 wagging fingers.
Yeah. There are always bears at a pride festival, but not the kind that are also going to steal your picnic basket.
All right, how about I follow it up with this serious thing? All right, this is a Max REBO. This is a nice thick book, well-written tale that happens exactly where you would expect it. It doesn't try to do anything before or after when these characters actually appear in the TV or the movies. This is right there. And although it's called Max REBO, it more focuses on the 2 characters that are behind him. They are discussing amongst themselves, with Jabba in the room, that someone is wanting to kill Jabba, which is very dangerous indeed. And it's a lot. It's kind of fun because it's Max trying to stay out of the crossfire of all the shenanigans and things that are happening. But you also get to see the things that happen in the actual movie. They're kind of happening in the background, which is kind of neat. So it's like you were in the room, but not at camera, somewhere else. You were one of the creatures.
All right.
Okay. Sleeping Beauty. This might actually only be a minute because. Yep.
Hold on, Jay. I promised that everybody, when we started the show, when we came to Zenescope Books, I would tell you how many pages of content are appropriate number of pages.
Okay.
72 pages is too many pages of content. However, as I've said before, add 28, make it 100 pages, call it a trade paperback. Take your time and fill out some of the stuff. That's all I'm saying. 72 pages is too many.
But you get pretty art.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you want to give me 28 more pages with better writing, I'd buy it.
Oh, gosh.
But 72 pages as it is now.
So this starts out with Rory, who is Sleeping Beauty on the cover there, flying through the Dreamverse when she spots a house. Apparently, it's kind of like it popped out of nowhere. She hadn't seen it before. So she doesn't know why, but she feels the need to check it out. And when she gets there, really cool nightmarish type imagery going on. But she goes into the house and she just has this feeling that there's somebody there. So she finds a little boy in one of the rooms, and she tries talking to him, and he seems very frightened. And when she goes to reach for him, he completely freaks out and just starts yelling, "Do not touch me." And then we get this big, like, strong electrical pulse that destroys the house and not only knocks Sleeping Beauty out of the house before it explodes, it knocks her back into reality, knocks her out of the Dreamverse. Like I said, this one was about 75 pages, so I just skimmed it, but the parts that I did read, there are some big bads that end up getting out of this Dreamverse, and one in particular takes over Rory's father, and it's up to her to defeat this demon, send him back where he came from. The art in this book is gorgeous. The Dreamverse they made is just some of the prettiest, poppiest colors in a book that I've seen in a while. Like, if you're a Zenescope fan, if you follow the storyline, this is definitely one to pick up, I think.
John, to answer your question, it sells fairly well in our store, but we also have a lot of extra space that we allow for indies. So it has like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 12 forward-facing slots, so you can see full covers, and I think that makes a big difference than if you were just like seeing like an edge or something.
All right. Miss Jen, real quick, before you go on to the Duchenne smile,
Mm.
do you know what today is?
Is it Kitty's Day?
No. This
Oh.
day 3 years ago, we did the proof of concept for the experience.
Heck
Cadets
yeah.
Con 2020. I just got a notification from Tom Hutchison. Remember doing this? There you go.
That was really cool, because didn't we launch with like a really long launch? It was like 2 days, right?
We did Cadets Con 2020 was 3 years ago today, which was our proof of concept that this could work. And we did like 3 days. So,
and mad props to anyone that's been around since then, and welcome to anybody that's joined to make sure that we are reinforced in our idea that this would be entertaining and fun.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about the Duchenne smile. This book is all in black and white. I know that we've had some viewers that can't read black and white just because their eyes don't work well with it. Just so that you know, I love black and white because I started in comics in the 90s, and black and white comic meant awesome, like turtles. So this is definitely that. Trigger warning, this is very, very violent. It'll mess with your head. If you like Disney / Mickey Mouse, you probably don't want to get this book because part of the imagery is Mickey Mouse. It focuses in on a kiddo whose father works at the Disney parks, but also is himself very evil, bad man, beats on him, brings home women that he tortures and makes his son watch, stuff like that. Great dad. And that ends up rolling over into his child as a behavior. The child, like, this goes through a lot of the kid's life, like how he starts presenting his own oddities. And it's weird. The book presents the Duchenne as something that he says, I have found a Duchenne. This person's got a Duchenne. They're all talking about, he's talking about it like we should know what it is. The only thing I can find out about that word is that there's a condition that's associated with MS, which you progressively have less and less control over your own muscles. It's a very fast progressing disease, not like there's another form of MS that's slow. So I'm trying to guess maybe this is his slow progression of losing himself is what he's trying to say. So I know, I'm sorry, man. I got to give it to you straight. So I actually like books like this because I have a criminal justice degree. So I like kind of getting into the heads of why people would be the way they are. And so this is kind of like, I feel like an exploration of that.
John, Ed, this is your jam.
Oh, is it? Eddie for sure.
This is your jam. And guys, this is Damian Connolly, who, if the name sounds familiar, but you can't remember it, Children of the Comet came out a couple of weeks ago. They did You Promised Me Darkness from Behemoth. Before they became Sumerian. Spare Parts, Follow Me Into the Darkness. Like, everything that Damian writes is super dark, super creepy, and super nightmare fuel. And it's great.
Hey, Clayton, we understand each other then. Criminal psychology is awesome.
Okay, speaking of criminal psychology.
This is too cute to be gross.
Well, then you're wrong.
Oh, oops.
This book is if Richie Rich was a murder hobo.
I need that shirt.
Right. Or if Archie had been written by like pick John Wayne Gacy. Like, pick a serial killer, and if they wrote an Archie book, this is it. It does have very Harvey Whitman kind of old school feel, but basically, the first story is the story of a guy who is in you know immediately. It's a minor spoiler. I'm gonna go with it. You find out almost immediately he is in witness protection,
Mm.
and he gets discovered. Somebody who knows him finds him, and in an effort to defend himself, he rock meets skull. And these ravens, crows, start to follow him. And crows will follow animals that they know are going to kill again because it's an easy meal for a crow. So they start to follow this guy, and it just goes off the deep end from there. Just absolutely wild. It had Tucker and Dale versus Evil vibes, where it's like the way he is doing what he's doing is like funnier every time or more absurd every time, to the point where he's clearly lost control. And then there's a second story. Mary, if you want to talk about Edgar Allan Poe, we'll talk later. But there's a second story in it that is not as creepy as the first story, but is more of a psychological thriller. And you've got to be a lot less ADHD than me to really follow a psychological thriller in a comic book where the first book felt like Hanna-Barbera meets Torquemada. Like, yes, this is a must read. This is great. It is. And by the way, it's like 75 pages, 72 pages. It's a long book. It's totally worth the $10 price point.
Mm-hmm. All right, Children of the Vault is a continuation of the story that started in the Hellfire Gala, which, by the way, if you didn't get a copy of the Hellfire Gala, I hope they're making a second print, because it's like one of those books that's like the key to everything going forward for a little bit. But I'll catch you up. Hold your fingers over your ears if you don't know what happened at the Hellfire Gala. The Orcus community came together and forced Professor X's hand so that he made all of the mutants leave Krakoa through gates. And he thought he was saving them from becoming damaged, but what happened is the gates didn't go anywhere. So it looks like everybody that went through the gates is dead. We'll find out if that's true, but that's the way it rolled out right now. And it continued in last week's Iceman #1, which is weird because Iceman totally looks like he dies. And there's a lot of controversy online right now about what we just saw in the Iceman book, because Iceman, everyone does believe, is actually really dead. But this focuses in on these characters who aren't really part of the mutant kind. They've been stuck away in some kind of pocket universe for a while, waiting for their time to emerge. And it is awesome that they do, but I'm not really sure. I think that I know they're important for the storyline going forward. Hopefully they'll figure out how to get people back or how our mutant kind back. But I could go on all day long about all the things Hickman universe talks about, because it's awesome. I can get you caught up. If you ever want to message me, I'll get you from the beginning to now.
Vampirella. Is it Vampirella Dracula Rage or
Yes.
Vampire? Yes. Okay. So we start off this one with a man and a woman. To me, it looks like they're in the middle of a swamp. The woman turns out to be a sister of Vampirella, I guess. That's what we'd call her. And she's asking the man, why did you summon me? And he says, I didn't. She did. And we cut to a ship on the sea, and it turns out Vampirella is on the ship. She's pregnant, feeding on a person, and there's another person on board called the Saint who's trying to protect her from the crew, because the crew's like, she has the son of the devil in her. We got to take her out. Honestly, doesn't look like she needs protecting. She does need saving, but she takes this crew out. It's very, very gory, very brutal. But near the end of the book, because we kind of cut in between these two characters kind of framing the story. When we get to the end of the book, the man in the beginning, you're starting to figure out maybe he's not exactly who he says he is, or maybe he is. It's kind of a mystery. They kind of leave you on it. Like, I have a pretty good idea who I think it is, but they kind of leave it, I am this or I'm not this kind of way. So that's all I got for this one.
All right. This is your last chance to get entered to win our slab.
Put in your hashtags.
EXP2K is the hashtag for the giveaway. So you have about a minute and a half to get entered into that before we do the drawing. Jay, do you want to answer Ed's question?
I think it's a continuation. Like Christopher, I think you said Christopher Priest was doing, it kind of feels like he's doing a bunch of mini-series that are connecting somehow.
Yeah, so I can speak to this one, having read it and talked to Dan about it and stuff. This is a continuation of the previous Vampirella Dracula story, which was done in a mini-series. And because people tend to buy number ones, comic companies, in order to make more money off of you, make miniseries instead of ongoings. And so that's what this is. It's a second miniseries or third miniseries in the story. But there's such a distance here. If you don't have volume 1, I would suggest having the previous volume. I would suggest reading it, then reading this one. Otherwise, this makes way less sense. So,
also, my good friends that are on YouTube right now, if you guys can hit that subscribe button, it would make me feel so good. And I would also love it if you guys would show up every week for our crazy review, because it'll obviously give you the information you need to know which books you want to grab, because it looks like a lot of you guys like this information and have added things to your pull list. That's awesome.
Yep. All right. Last chance. 10, 9, 8, 7, 5, 2, 6.
Go.
Here we go. And the winner is
Preston. Nice.
Yay.
Awesome. Long-time supporter of the channel. Couldn't happen to a better person.
Preston is an OG around here. So Preston, the link here is in the comments. If you fill that out, you've got 24 hours. I know you'll have no problem getting that filled out.
What did he win? What did he win? What did he win?
Oh, yeah, we should probably show him what he won. I know I forgot something. Oh, this is great. Miss Jen, this is a book by a friend of ours. Someone we both really like and have had on the experience multiple times, and who just signed an exclusive deal with DC.
Oh, it's my dude, Rom V.
Rom V, Batman Reptilian #1. Although,
awesome.
I think this one is the Garth Ennis one. So I misspoke. But
it is Garth Ennis. You're right.
Right, Rom V continued this story.
And Liam Sharp. Awesome art.
Yeah. So there you go, Preston. You got a killer book.
By the way, if you guys didn't hear, Rumby he's got a contract with DC now. You won't see him on any more Marvel stuff. You'll see him on lots of other companies, but he has got a long run of Detective Comics that he's working through. So you've got him. I think he's got a 30-issue arc. So.
All right. So, thank you everyone for being here. ComicShopLocator.com. Preston, it's above you in the comments. So many people congratulated you that you missed it. If you can't find it, you know how to get a hold of me. Just message me in Discord and I'll send it to you. But
Thank you, John.
we will be back next week with more reviews. Keep in mind, this show starting next week will only be on the Space Cadets page live at 7. And then it will be on the Experience at midnight Eastern. So make sure you've got the bell clicked on the Experience for when it comes up. And we will see everybody next time. For Jay and Miss Jen, I've been Kyle. And this has been... What show is this? Oh, yeah, Minute to Skim It.
Bye.